Childress was a 29-year-old staff sergeant at the Buckley Air Force Base. He played a variety of different sports and died saving one of his close friends' lives. Gordon Cowden was a 51-year-old father of 4. He loved the outdoors and enjoyed traveling. He had gone to the movie with 2 of his teenage children. John Larimer was 27 years old and a Navy sailor, who was based at Buckley Air Force Base. There, he was a cryptologic technician. He is another one of the men who died protecting their girlfriend. Michaela Medic was working hard at Subway to save up money to be able to go on a trip. She was 23 years old and attended Aurora Community College. Friends and family say that Michaela was independent and sweet. Matt McQuinn was yet another young man who died while protecting his girlfriend. He was 27 years old and recently moved to Colorado from Ohio, just a few months before the shooting. Jessica Guai was a journalist and a blogger who had big dreams of becoming a sportscaster. She was 24 years old and moved from Texas to Colorado. Just weeks prior to losing her life, Jessica survived a small shooting in Toronto. The youngest of the victims was the vibrant Veronica Sullivan, who was just 6 years old. She had gone to the movies with her mom. Her pregnant mom was injured, paralyzed, and suffered a miscarriage as a result of the shooting. Alex Sullivan was 27 years old and was attending the movie in celebration of his birthday. He was smart and funny, and described as being a gentle giant who loved comic books. Alex Teves, the final of the young men who died protecting their loved ones, was just 24 years old. Originally from Arizona, Alex recently graduated from the University of Denver, earning a master's degree in counseling psychology. Shortly after the shooting, Alex's girlfriend had her last name legally changed to Teves in his honor. Rebecca Wingo was 32 years old and a single mother. She was friendly and always in a good mood. An Air Force veteran, Rebecca worked for a mobile medical imaging company.
The 2 of us just decided to go to the midnight showing.
My buddy Pierce got hit in the arm first.
I grabbed my buddy and we just hit the deck, right in front of our seats and just laid as flat as we could. And I just immediately just started praying.
He told me, he was like, I got hit. At that point, I got hit in my leg. So like, Pierce, let's go.
And at that point, I just couldn't respond, man.
It seemed like he was very lifeless at that point. So I let him go and turned around and just kind of bolted out of there.
And thankfully, I'm really glad that he did, because the gunman came back in at that point.
The worst part for me was thinking that my buddy had passed away. I mean, he just married my wife and I, 3 weeks ago.
The Century 16 Theater is located in the Town Center Shopping Mall at 14,300 East Alameda Avenue in Aurora, Colorado. The population of Aurora is around 325,000 and is part of a, quote, home rule municipality, which is considered self-governing and can declare to be a city or a town. A home rule charter determines the form of government the city or town has. 3 different counties make up Aurora: Arapahoe County, Adams County, and Douglas County. In 1929, Aurora, Colorado was incorporated as a city. There are 4 distinct seasons with over 100 parks and many golf courses. The largest employer is Buckley Air Force Base, where many of the victims were employed, and the largest private employer is the Children's Hospital of Aurora. The Aurora Symphony Orchestra is also located here, and is well known and beloved by many. What makes Sam different from many of the other shooters we have covered is that Sam survived the attack, making it possible for different psychiatrists to examine him, to try and figure out different hypotheses as to why Sam decided to commit such an awful attack. He was born on December 13th, 1987 in San Diego, California, and had a sister who was 5 years younger than him. In 1995, he and his family moved to Salinas, California, from San Diego. For the most part, he had a happy childhood, with no obvious issues. In 6th grade, his parents noticed Sam becoming more and more introverted. He started spending all his time playing video games on the computer, rather than spending time with family or friends. He began playing online role-playing games and enjoyed communicating with people online through virtual chat rooms, discussing the different games. When Sam got to high school, his parents saw his spirits change, and he seemed much happier than he did during his middle school years. He attended Westview High School and made a few close friends that he would spend time with. He played for the soccer team during his freshman year of high school. However, after that, he decided to only play recreationally. During his sophomore year, he ran cross country, but didn't decide to run another season because he didn't like the training that was involved in the sport. Sam graduated Westview High School in 2006 with a GPA of 3.77. He had no reported disciplinary issues. Other than the normal sibling rivalry he had with his sister, the two got along okay and seemed to like each other. They didn't hang out together or spend much time with just the two of them, but they didn't not like each other either. Sam's dad worked as a senior scientist in software credit card fraud analysis. He had reported to have a good relationship with his dad. His mom worked as a nurse, and Sam reported to have a better relationship with his mom than he did with his dad. After graduating from high school, Sam enrolled in the University of California at Riverside for his undergraduate education. While there, he didn't socialize with others at all, and some said he was your typical, quote, weird loner kid. Other classmates also commented that Sam always seemed to have a, quote, sleepy look. While attending the university, he was enrolled in the honors program and played soccer in an intramural league. At first, he decided to pursue a Bachelor of Arts degree in neuroscience. But in 2009, he chose to switch his major to a Bachelor of Science in neuroscience. It was during his undergraduate studies that Sam met and dated his first girlfriend, a graduate student. They dated for 6 months when she ended the relationship. Shortly after, they decided to give their relationship another shot, but after only 2 months, Sam left her, and this time, it was for good. This relationship was the longest he had ever had. In the spring of 2010, Sam graduated from University of California at Riverside with a Bachelor of Science degree in neuroscience, and immediately began applying to several neuroscience schools. Ultimately, he was rejected by all of them. Sam decided to move back to San Diego with his parents. He immediately became reclusive, rarely ever leaving the house. Sam slept all day and watched TV and played video games all night. He showed absolutely no motivation to do anything else with his life.
You start to notice that he's pulling back, staying alone much more, not talking very much.
His parents gave him an ultimatum and encouraged him to apply to graduate schools, which he decided to do. Sam applied to 6 different graduate schools and was accepted into 2 out of the 6. He began to attend the University of Colorado Anschutz Medical Campus in Aurora in the PhD program. He started in June of 2011 and received over $21,000 in grants. There were only 6 students in the prestigious program, and one would think Sam would be honored to be one of those 6 students. Less than a year later, Sam's studies began to decline quickly, and he failed an important oral exam. In early July of 2012, just weeks before the shooting, he made the decision to drop out of school. Sam had dating profiles listed on Match.com and AdultFriendFinder.com. It was reported that he constantly made people feel uncomfortable, especially when he would express his desire to kill people. Even though he had these conversations with multiple people, no one ever came forward to report the conversations. It was also alleged that Sam hired several prostitutes and would go online and review their, quote, performance. Between May and July of 2012, Sam purchased a total of 4 firearms, including 2 Glock pistols, an .870 Remington shotgun, and an AR-15. In addition to the firearms, he purchased over 6,200 rounds of various types of ammunition. Sam reported that he had no firearms experience, except for the research that he did online. He also went to the Byers Canyon Range, for target practice around 5 different times. Sam said that he picked this specific range because it wasn't supervised, and no one would be suspicious about how much time he spent there. In addition to researching firearms online, he also researched prior mass shootings. His objective was to learn about police response times to mass shootings, trying to determine how much ammunition he needed to commit his attack. During the 2 months prior to the shooting, Sam watched a movie in each of the 9 theaters to try and decide which theater would be best suited for his well-planned attack. He knew beforehand that he wanted to commit the shooting at the release for The Dark Knight Rises, because the theater would be full. When the police apprehended Sam, he almost immediately reported to them that his apartment, located on Paris Street, was rigged with bombs. The bomb squad immediately descended to the apartment to disarm any explosives that Sam left behind. Once they arrived, a remote-controlled robot was sent into Sam's apartment to disable any explosives inside. There were around 30 homemade grenades that were wired to a control box in the kitchen, with at least 30 gallons of gas, as well as around 500 grams of ammonium chloride powder, which was spread on the floor. After further investigation, police were able to figure out what Sam planned that night. He put a boombox inside a trash bag by a dumpster, located at his apartment complex. In the boombox, he made a CD that contained 40 minutes of silence and 40 minutes of music. He then put a remote control car and a remote next to the boombox. Sam was hoping that after the 40 minutes of silence, the music would start and draw someone over to the remote control car. Sam was then planning on that person picking up the remote to play with the remote control car. Once the remote was triggered, the bombs would explode, causing the entire apartment to be obliterated. The bombs he set to explode were fireworks shells filled with gunpowder, pickle jars filled with napalm and gunpowder, 7-Up bottles filled with gasoline, and 2 small propane tanks. Thankfully, this didn't go according to plan, nor the way Sam was hoping, and lives were spared at the apartment complex.
A robot, bomb technicians, and dynamic explosive disruption tools were used to render safe multiple booby traps and improvised explosive and/or incendiary devices that were contained inside the residence. So briefly, what occurred, we first had to make entry with a robot. That robot was really skillfully driven by one of the Adams County bomb techs. And once we got rid of that first booby trap, which was really a wire across the front door, we then had to neutralize a hyperbolic mixture, a form of an oxidizer, and some fuel that we saw immediately inside. It was an extremely dangerous environment. If a neighbor or an unassuming pedestrian would have walked in that door, or God forbid a first responder, they would have sustained significant injuries and or lost their life.
Make no mistake, okay, this apartment was designed, I say, based on everything I've seen, to kill whoever entered it, okay? And who was most likely to enter that location after he planned and executed this horrific crime? It was going to be a police officer, okay? So make no mistake about it, what was going on there. And if you think we're angry, we sure as hell are angry about what has happened to our city, what has happened to these wonderful people who live here, and also what he threatened to do to one of our police officers. So we'll see how that plays out in court, but there's no question what the intent was behind whoever designed that device and for whoever opened the door.
As stated earlier in the episode, Sam was arrested at the scene of the mass shooting and was immediately lodged at the Arapahoe County Detention Center, where he was also placed on suicide watch. On March 27, 2013, Sam's defense attorney offered the prosecutors a plea deal. He said that Sam would plead guilty to all the charges if the death penalty was taken off the table. A few days later, on April 1, 2013, the prosecutor declined the offer, stating that the defendant, Sam, deserved death. Both sides of the case, the defense and the prosecution, began to prepare for trial, which was set to begin on April 27, 2015, and would last around 2.5 months. While the attorneys were preparing for one of the biggest trials of their careers, the court wanted to have Sam evaluated, and make sure that he was competent to stand trial. He saw 3